Welcome everybody. Today's lecture will start. This is the fourth lecture of the boundary layer theory. So in the last lecture already we have discussed about displacement thickness, momentum thickness and energy thickness. So this lecture will study the boundary layer flow with non-zero pressure gradient. So earlier whatever the boundary layer theory or the solution we got, it is the flow over a flat plate kind of thing where essentially the pressure gradient was zero, right? Just in the first lecture itself we have derived why it should be zero, right? So we have already considered the pressure gradient over the flat plate where especially the pressure gradient was zero. Now we'll come to a situation where the pressure gradient is not zero. Okay, what are those situations? Let's come to a point. This is a wave shape block, right? Some free stream flow is coming, they are directly hitting the wave shape and they are splitting into two parts, right? So for this kind of geometry, okay, the pressure gradient is not necessarily zero, and but the boundary layer starts form on the solid surface, right? So what happened? So you free stream velocity, the free stream velocity is again along the streamline direction. We can mention it as u, this capital U, this stands for my free stream velocity. Okay, so we can do here the similarity solution. Also what we did for the flow over the flat plate, we can also adapt over here, okay, with some little bit adjustment. What are the little bit adjustment? Okay, for this kind of thing we can express, okay, the free stream velocity as the function of u is equal to c x to the power m, where x is the boundary layer coordinate. Means normally earlier we are dealing x and y, they are our Cartesian coordinate, right? The direction of coordinate they remain same. In this kind of flow they are the streamline coordinate or the boundary layer coordinate. Means along the boundary the x direction remains same, along the boundary similarly x direction remains same. So the thing is that the free stream velocity here, the free stream velocity u, how we are defining? Free stream velocity is equal to c into x to the power m, right? Where m is the wedge relationship, for the m is the exponent, and it is expressed from the wedge relationship equal to m equals to beta by pi divided by 2 minus beta by pi, where pi beta equals the wedge angle. This is the wedge angle measured in the radian, right? So once it is there, just like from the Bernoulli's equation, we can do the pressure field, okay? Just kinetic energy, mechanical energy balance, we can do it the thing. So pressure energy plus kinetic energy, they are going to be some constant, that is a Bernoulli constant, right? P by rho g plus b square by 2g plus z. Here we neglected the elevation, so p we are multiply over here rho, right? G is not there because elevation is not there. So P of x is equal to B minus half rho u square x, where u is the free stream. Our direction of the free stream is changing over boundary layer thing, right? So because the free stream is also a function of x over here, here the free stream is changing. So the pressure gradient, now we find pressure as a function of x, right? Now let's find the pressure gradient, how the pressure gradient is expressed. So now do del p by del x to this term, right? So del p by del x is equal to how much? This b is equal to constant, so any derivative with respect to x, this is going to be 0, right? Minus half rho u square x. If you differentiate with respect to del u, again you did a chain rule, del u by del x, so u square equal to 2u, so the half gone, so minus rho u del u by del x, right? So again del u by del x, u is equal to how much? C x to the power m, right? So it will become how much? If you do del u by del x, c will become outside, it is x m, c into m into x to the power m minus 1, right? If I multiply and divide both sides with x, then it will happen how much? Then c x to the power m becomes u, so 1 u and here another u, this is become minus half rho u square. The m will become as exponent will become out of the differentiation, this will be here, and we divided with respect to x to make the del u by del x term represent in terms of the u. So now del p by del x is equal to how much? Minus rho u square m by x, right? So let's calculate the x momentum equation, right? In the x momentum equation for flow over a flat plate, we have a Navier-Stokes equation where we have the pressure gradient term equal to 0 for a flat plate kind of thing. Here for a wedge shape of thing, right, we have additional term minus pressure gradient term minus del P by del X, right? If I do it, this term become positive, minus or minus become positive things. So this term rho del P by del X, if I put it over here, then rho will be divided, this become n u square by x, right, plus u for u, okay, so into del square u by del y square, where u is equal to how much? U is equal to free stream velocity, y is equal to boundary layer velocity normal. So this u is equal to c x to the power m. So the positive value of m represents the flow with acceleration case, and beta is the contraction angle, right? And while the negative value of the m represents the flow with deceleration case, beta is the expansion angle. So basically, depending whether the flow is expanding or the flow is contracting, that will depends by this wedge angle beta, right? From this wedge angle beta, normally we determine the m, and this m is coming into a part of the solution, into a part of the computation, right? So representing the, just like we did our similarity solution or momentum integral solution, what we have seen? We have seen the similarity variable nu by eta y, right? This is the nu is the similarity variable, right? Equal to is a function of how much? Free stream velocity to flow velocity. Then there is a representation in terms of the square root, right? So representing the stretching variable, similarity variable, we have represent over here how much? Eta is equal to y into square root of free stream velocity u divided by nu into x. We will represent our stretching variable like this, just like we did it in the earlier, right? Then the momentum equation, whatever the momentum equation over here we have, right? That after the algebraic manipulation by putting the similarity variable, changing from the xy coordinate to eta coordinate, the momentum equation can be reduced to a ordinary differential equation 2 into f triple dash n plus m plus 1 by 2 f of n into f double dash n plus m into 1 minus f dash square equals to 0, right? So what are the boundary conditions to solve this differential equation? At f is equal to 0 here, because the body is a streamline, right? F is nothing but represent a similar to some stream function, right? F dash 0, that represents the velocity at y is equal to 0, velocity at y equal to 0, this is a no slip condition. Then f dash infinity equals to 1 means above the boundary layer, any position in the free stream, the shear vanishes. With using three of this boundary condition, we can solve this ordinary differential equation. But this equation is known as Falkor-Scan equation for wedge flow, right? But this equation don't have any analytical solution. Either you have to use any of the ordinary differential equation solver, partial differential equation solver, just like Runge-Kutta solver or shooting method, Runge-Kutta solver, or any other partial ordinary differential equation solver to solve this ordinary differential equation using this boundary condition, right? So let's come to the situation. What happened? Okay, even if this is a wedge shape, what is happening, or what is the speciality in this wedge shape? Even if the boundary layer come into the flow, but still it is a flat. Now this is remaining an inclined surface kind of thing, straight inclined surface kind of thing. But all the body in the engineering application, they are not necessarily a flat body, they are not necessarily a smoothly inclined body, they may be a curved body. In that case, there is not any straightforward way to assume that my free stream velocity equals to cx to the power m condition. The pressure gradient accordingly has changed its role. To see these things, let's come to the what kind of operation exists if it's a body is not a flat. So this is a kind of inclined, or this is a curvature body. So I can now demarcate the region across the flow region across the body into two parts, right? There is a one part pressure gradient del P by del X less than 0, and one part is del P by del X greater than 0. The portion where del P by del X less than 0, that they are known as favorable pressure gradient region. when del P by del X greater less than 0, this region is known as favorable pressure gradient region. When del P by del X greater than 0, this region is known as adverse pressure gradient region. To understand where the pressure gradient role is, why it is reverse and why it is favoring and why it is adverse, let's understand what are the kind of forces that are acting on a fluid molecule in the boundary layer, right? So do that. Let's come to the pen box. We can do some derivation over here, right? So let's take the thing, right? This is my solid plate, okay? These are my free stream velocity. Okay. If there is no solid, the free stream velocity will be remain as same velocity. It will pass. There is no other resistance to the flow. The velocity won't change, right? Because of the presence of the solid gradient, the solids act as a flow damper. So that's why what will happen? The solid provides the resistance, right? That's why the at the solid surface flow exactly 0 and the boundary layer gradually grows on increasing, right? So what are the force then acting on the thing? First, the free stream velocity, they are trying to do, suppose a molecule over here, right? The free stream molecule, the free stream velocity is trying to pull this molecule in this direction. So they are providing a forward pull, right? This is a forward pull FP. The solid is over here, the solid surface, they by virtue of the no slip condition, the molecule which is attached to the solid surface at the zero velocity condition. So what they force they try to oppose any further movement of the molecule in the forward direction. They are providing a backward resistance, right? So then let's see the forward pull out of the stream layer transmitted to the boundary layer. Okay, by viscous action, if it is a turbulent flow, by viscous action, the momentum is transferred from the free stream region to the boundary layer region, or if it is a turbulent flow, not laminar viscosity, it is eddy viscosity, that result the momentum transfer from the free stream region to the boundary layer region. Then the slowdown effect, okay, then there is a slowdown effect because of the solid boundary. Apart from these two things, there is a pressure gradient, right? That also provides flow. So where is the pressure gradient come? Okay, let's see. Where is the pressure gradient come? So let's go over here. So in case of the body is straight, flat plate, right? And there is a curvature body. Okay, there is a free stream coming over here. Okay, so whatever the fluid, they are coming between free stream to the solid boundary over here, straight boundary, they are passing over this region, right? The same amount of fluid, although there is a boundary layer growth, there is a momentum thickness, there is a shift in the thickness, the same amount of fluid passing over there, right? Okay, if you apply the Bernoulli equation, right, you will find the pressure, okay, there on the free stream region, almost here to here, they are not changing. That's why any change within the boundary layer already have derived, any pressure is exerted by free stream from the outside, and the free stream is such a way that the pressure gradient is almost negligible in the free stream region, right? But again, coming to the blunt or the curvature body system, what happened over here? These are my solid surface, curvature body system. When the flow enters this path, this is a flow enters this path, this has some huge gap, right? As the flow goes on moving, so around this point, the flow contracts. Here to here coming, the flow contracts, right? So as happen, what happened? Flow contracts means the area is remaining contraction, the velocity increases. There's at the time there is some change in the pressure because the total mechanical energy is going to remain constant. So because of the net, keep the net energy of the flow remain constant, mechanical energy, so any increase if the velocity is going to be compensated by any decrease in the pressure. That's why from this section to this section, there is a difference of pressure gradient when the part of the flow is flowing over a blunt or the curvature or the curved surface, right? Similarly, from here to here, if we go over there, the flow velocity from here to here, they are going to decrease, right? If the velocity is going to decrease, then pressure must be going to increase, right? So there is a gradient exist from here to here, right? So there will be a pressure gradient when flow passes over the inclined surface, because this acts just like a nozzle or diffuser kind of thing. So just in the inclined body, they asked some nozzle or diffuser kind of thing where the flow contracts and further expands, right? So because of this contraction and the expansion, the pressure gradient exists between the contraction area to the exit area and the inlet area, right? So now see, okay, so what this pressure gradient, how this acting. So this is for the external flow, right? By default, if you are taking any internal flow, like flow in a pipe kind of thing, okay, by default it is a parabolic profile. There is nothing like that. Pressure gradient will not be there. Pressure gradient by default, because of the confinement, because of the presence of the solid on both sides, the pressure gradient will be by default there in the internal flow. But again, it's the external flow across the cylinder, flow across the sphere, or flow across the box around thing. So here the free stream exists. Free stream fluid exist to a certain level of the atmosphere. That's why here the blunt or the curve shape, because of that there's a pressure gradient came, right? So let's go to the theory. Okay, for the external flow, surface curvature induces a pressure gradient. Here we have noticed already, because why surface curvature induces a pressure gradient, and pressure gradient is in an internal flow is automatic because of the confinement, because every part is surrounded by a solid boundary, right? So this region, there are two parts, right? Even if a curvature body, the pressure gradient I can divide it into two parts. Okay, tip of the curvature, okay, where the inflation, this is not a thing, the tip of the curvature where again the slope goes on decreasing, right? Slope goes on increasing. Here it is slope maximum. Hello, yes. Okay, let's proceed. Let's proceed with it. Okay. So then without any, this is the increasing slope. Okay, this is the decreasing slope. Here slope is 0, right? There are the three region. So this increasing slope region, del P by del X less than 0. This is decreasing slope region, del P by del X greater than 0. Why these things? Let's observe it, right? So there is a pressure gradient term. We have already find out the pressure gradient term del P by del X is negative over here, and that pressure gradient region were known as favorable pressure gradient region, we known as region 1, right? So let's find the Navier-Stokes equation. Navier-Stokes equation, we can represent U del U by del X plus V del U by del Y is equal to minus 1 by rho del P by del X, dP by dx plus nu del square U by del Y square. Let's plot each velocity versus Y for the each term in the boundary layer, right? Suppose this is my U velocity, this is my Y distance. Just like without pressure gradient, the behavior of the flow, that is going to be remain same, right? Because if I go at the boundary where y is equal to 0, the velocity equals to 0, right? As y goes on increases and y surplus the delta or the boundary layer thickness, u becomes constant. So here you can notice at y equals to 0, u equal to 0. As you go on increasing the boundary layer, okay, so after a certain distance u becomes constant, because you have already reached at the what? You have already reached the free stream velocity after the y becomes exceeds the threshold of the boundary layer thickness, right? Similarly, measure there's a del u by del y term, right? Now measure the del u by del y term with respect to the y. What is the del u by del y term at y is equal to 0? At the y is equal to 0, del u by del y term is a maximum time, right? At y is equal to 0. Del u by del y is equal to 0 is my here, right? So y is equal to 0. My del u by del y equal to maximum, right? At y is equal to infinity, my del u by del y is equal to goes on to 0. So this is my y is equal to 0 limit. So here my del u by del y is equal to maximum, right? As I go further away from the boundary layer towards the free stream, the shear vanishes, right? Then what will happen? Once the shear vanishes, asymptotically, the del u by del y term approaches to zero towards the towards the edge of the boundary layer, right? Then comes to the third term, del square u by del y square. So del square y by del y square, what happen at y is equal to 0? Okay, at y is equal to 0, this term must be negative, del square u by del y square. Why? So let's come to the PPT. Sorry, let's come to the pen brush to understand. So let's get this brush. Okay, this is my solid boundary, right? So here I found my shear is maximum, del u by del y is maximum. Gradually, asymptotically, my shear is also goes on decreasing, right? Then del square u by del y square equal to what? With respect to y, you have to find, this is my y direction, right? So this is, I am plotting the magnitude of the shear, okay? So del u by del y term, they gradually goes on decreasing with respect to the y, because at the y is equal to 0, they become maximum, they goes on increasing, decreasing with respect to y. So what is the magnitude of del square y by del y square? That will given nothing but, okay, del by del y of, sorry, this is del square u, right? This is nothing but del by del y of del u by del y. So you can measure that this graphical visualization, what they are telling? They are telling my del u by del y term, as I am increasing the y direction, my del u by del y is decreasing, right? That's why if you come over here, this del square u by del y square, they are decreasing with what? With increase in the y, right? So in the negative direction, right? So they become maximum and they become negative, okay? At this location, any amount of you are increasing y, they gradually do what? They gradually comes down to 0, right? At the free stream, the shear will vanish, they become 0, okay? But again, this, the magnitude is negative, okay? They decreases, but the negative because they starts from the opposite end, that gives the rate of change of the del u by the shear, right? That's why they start from the negative and they gradually goes on decreasing, and because this becomes 0 when the y becomes reach the boundary layer edge, right? So let's go to the, this is the favorable condition. Why? This region, why it is called favorable condition, we'll see it, right? So now just, this is the Navier-Stokes equation, okay? Before going to the case del p by del x greater than 0, let's solve the boundary layer equation at the wall, right? At the wall, my, because of the no slip condition, my u equals to 0, v equals to 0, right? So this term left side becomes equals to 0, right? So if I put my then if I left side becomes 0, then my 1 by rho del p dp by dx is equal to nu del square u by del y square, right? So at the far from the stream, okay, what happened? At the far from the stream, the shear vanishes, right? The shear vanishes at the far from the stream. That's why there is not any pressure gradient at the free stream region, right? Far from the boundary layer. But at the wall, the pressure gradient is same order as nu del square u by del y square, right? So once at the wall, what we see over here, del square u by del y square is by default negative at the wall, right? If my by default del square u by del y square negative, what is the pressure gradient? The pressure gradient is nothing but, okay, nu del square u by del y square, okay? So the direction, if this term is negative at the wall, pressure gradient is negative at the wall. That's why for any pressure gradient less than 0 or any negative pressure gradient at the wall, they call favorable condition, right? So why? That is, what is the unfavorable condition? Let's go on to the C of the thing. Okay. So in the if the pressure gradient form goes to greater than 0, then what will happen? The pressure gradient, if it is greater than 0, del square u by del y square greater than 0. Here in the previous section, we have noticed that del square u by del y square is always less than 0, right? But here, if del square u by del y square greater than 0 and gradually at the increase in y, they will approach as what? The approach is 0. Either they can come from here to here directly, okay, or they can come from here to here directly, or they can follow some path in between the way. The pressure gradient can meet the value over 0 over here, del square u by del y square, they become 0 over here. Then they become from the 0, they can go to the negative region, and then as usual they can shift to the 0 and go in the boundary layer region. Here you can see over here it is fully negative region, they are coming to 0. Here in the del square u by del y square term, they are gradually the second that term, they can gradually they can either go from positive to 0 from the boundary layer, the solid boundary. If this term is positive, they directly can go from positive towards the edge. They directly can go shift from positive to 0, or they can shift from positive to a point, okay, where del square u by del y square becomes 0. Then they go to the negative. Then they again meet to the 0. So this point is known as inflation point, right? What is the inflation point? So normally in the function maximum and minimum, you can find out that inflation point is a point where either maxima or minima occur, right? So in the same thing, so what is occurring over here? This condition, right? So if at this point, if del square u by del y square equal to 0, what happened to my negative region? Okay, either del u by del y equals to 0, it is inflation point, right? So because del square u by del y square term 0, and then further this beyond this point they have become negative. Okay, so u becomes this. What happened from the if you plot the value of the u versus y for this positive pressure gradient term, because this term is pressure the del square u by del y square term and the pressure gradient term, they have the same side of the magnitude, right? They have the magnitude of the same, and they bear the same sign. So if this term is positive, means positive pressure gradient, right? Positive pressure gradient, okay. Some point out from the wall, u become maximum. And then its growth is very small, right? If you plot u versus y, we can see some point out from the wall u. Okay, yes, I'm repeating. Okay, so that's why I'm telling. Yeah, sure. So we have here with del p by del x greater than 0. This is essentially telling that the del square u by del y square term should be greater than 0, right? So the final approach is this term del square u by del y square, this is a greater than 0, and they will approach the 0 velocity towards the edge of the boundary layer. What is the mechanism of approach? They can directly come from the positive from here, greater than 0 positive region, directly from here towards the 0 over here, okay, with respect to boundary layer, towards the boundary layer edge at y grows and increasing, or they can approach the positive region, they can approach some of the thing where the intercept the y-axis becomes 0, then they go to the negative region and again approach and come to the 0 as increase in the y. So this, if this thing happen, the point where the positive del square u by del y square, they go and meet the y-axis and become 0, then they further go to the negative region, the region that is known as point of inflection, right? So the point of inflection, what will happen when del square u by del y square becomes 0, then limiting condition, then what will happen? The del u by del y becomes 0 at the point of time. At some point, let's plot the corresponding velocity versus the y for this point of time. What is it? At some point away from the wall, this is my wall, at some point away from the wall, if I am plotting my boundary layer, u become maximum and then its growth equals to very much. I for this inflation point, if I am plotting over here, so with respect to wall, so boundary layer will be growth, but again, if this is my u, this is supposed to reach the free stream, but rapidly from changing the value from 0 to some inflation point, the u steeply changes. After that, its growth becomes very small, right? So at this point, what will happen? Okay, del u by del y becomes 0, right? Here the left, because it's a continuous curve, right? So then the left hand slope, the right hand slope remains same. So del y becomes del y by del u by del y becomes 0. If I plot the y versus del u by del y, just earlier case what happened? This is asymptotically the decrease from a positive towards 0. Instead of the positive pressure gradient, they don't asymptotically decrease from the positive value to the 0. First, del u by del y, they increases, right? They goes to a limit up to the, there is a positive del u by del y, okay, up to the inflation layer. From the inflation layer, its value becomes, the slope becomes 0, and then from the inflation layer, it goes on decreasing again the increase of the y, right? Because here the del square u by del y square equal to 0 in this region, right? For the limiting condition at the wall, del u by del y equal to 0 possible, right? So when del y by del y 0 means it's a shear region. Imagine at the wall, the velocity, free stream velocity is 0. On the next to free stream velocity, there is a very, very small change in velocity. There is a steep thing. So in that case, what will happen? Del u by del y becomes 0 with respect to y. My u magnitude is not changing so much. If it is changing smoothly, I can get a very finite amount of del u by del y. But if this kind of steep changes, I get my del u by del y equal to 0 at the thing, right? Possible. In that case, what will happen? U become negative from the maxima and minima principle. If you find a function u del u by del y equal to 0, if it is giving what are the condition it is giving? It is giving the function is either maxima or minima. To find out whether the function is maxima or minima, what will happen? You have to go for the double derivative check, and the double derivative, once it is positive, okay, then the function is negative. So in that case, we have checked it right. When del u by del y is equal to 0, this gives either u is the maximum or minimum. So if I go for again the double derivative check, I found it's a double derivative is a positive, because double derivative of u, the diffusion term, is same sign as pressure gradient term. Okay, then u must be negative over here, right? What this negative u is saying? The negative u is showing this is a backflow. Instead of moving the velocity in the forward direction because of the drag by the boundary external free stream position, what will happen? Okay, so this is my normal boundary layer. Okay, because of the, this is my solid. Okay, this is the curvature boundary layer. Okay, so when pressure gradient is, this is the free stream pool. That's why any fluid over the flat boundary layer, they are pulled by the free stream direction. Okay, positive, this is the positive u. Okay, so but again, this region where pressure gradient is adverse, what will happen? The boundary layer, the free stream trying to pull something in the forward direction, but the flow is coming somewhere in the reverse direction. The flow adjacent to the boundary, okay, they are moving somewhere in the reverse direction. That is a negative u. Okay, so let's come to over here. Okay, so what are the thing, right? So they are here, from here we find out there is a position exists in the boundary layer where the diffusion term del square u by del y square term, they are changing its sign. They are changing from the positive sign to the negative sign, right? So now coming to this condition, there is a point. Okay, if it is a, I have considered the inclined or curved body over which flow is occurring, the forward side or the leading side of the flow, right? My pressure gradient is always less than 0. Okay, if you compute the pressure gradient over here, because the velocity, I already have explained, because of the velocity over here, which is what? Velocity is high over here, pressure is minimum over here, velocity is low over here, pressure is maximum over here, then the pressure gradient is how much? High, sorry, pressure high to low, low to high minus divided by the distance, right? This is a negative distance of the pressure gradient. So negative of the pressure gradient, there is a monotonic growth of the boundary layer, right? These things occur till we are reaching the point where the tip of the curved body, right? Locus of the point, then after the tip of the curved body, what will happen? The tip of the curved body, the wall shear, del u by del x, the velocity gradient, this exactly 0 are the boundary, solid boundary, because the flow vicinity to the u y is equal to 0, there becomes, there is not any change, significant change in the u, right? Any further moving in the forward direction results a reverse flow in the boundary layer. Why? Okay, locus of a point inflection will act as the artificial solid wall. Here we have noticed that up to this region in order to maintain this positive del square u by del y square, there should be a backside flow, because the positive del square u by del y square indicates the negative value of the function from the maximum minimum principle, right? Suppose u my function del u by del y, if it is 0, either the function is maxima or minima. When the second derivative is greater than 0, it is a minima. To minimum is a negative sign, right? It is coming. So to maintain the negative sign, okay. So till the pressure gradient, sorry, the double derivatives or terms of the u is positive, okay, till this region, the velocity has a reverse direction. Once this term becomes negative, then the velocity will becomes positive, right? The velocity direction and this direction have some reciprocal sign. So similarly, this is the point of separation. If we go along the point of separation, in this region, del square u by del y square what? This is a positive. If we go for every point tracking, there is a solid artificial boundary kind of thing will be formed over here. So this point of artificial boundary is known as the point of separation or the locus. If you connect all the trajectory of such separation for the inflection point, this will give a separation line. This will act as an artificial solid wall above which the boundary layer is growing, okay, and this prevents monotonical growth of the boundary layer, because because of the boundary layer recirculation, there is some reverse velocity noticed at the reverse velocity is noticed over here, right? So in the separation region, the boundary layer is not valid. So whatever the boundary layer equation, whatever the boundary layer solution you did for the flat plate, okay, this region they may be analogous, in this region they may be valid, but in the separation region, okay, this region to this region, whatever the boundary layer theory we have derived, they are not valid, because there is a reverse flow, right? Behind the separation point, this is my separation point where the slope of the curvature becomes 0. Beyond the separation point, low pressure region is formed, and there is a wake shear formed, and the symmetry of the pressure distribution is vanished. So this region up to this region, there is a symmetry in the pressure with respect to the body, right? Once that is, this region is shifted this side, the symmetry is vanished, because there is a recirculation. Some flow is going this direction, some flow is going this direction. There is no symmetry about the pressure gradient, right? Symmetry, and so the symmetry in the pressure gradient is vanished. Pressure distribution, due to the non-uniform pressure distribution, resultant force act on the body. So this kind of pressure, something is tried, the fluid molecule, which is just present at the vicinity of the separation edge, the molecule which is present over the opposite side, because of the pressure gradient, it will exert a flow this side. Then the upward gradient, this will exert a flow on the opposite direction, because of the action on the body. Resultant force is due to a combination of the shear and pressure gradient. Up to the flat plate, okay, there is only shear force was there. Here, what are the flow there? So what are the forces that are acting over this separation region or for the blunt body? There are two kind of things. One is the shear force, because of the no viscosity and the no slip condition, as well as the pressure gradient force they are acting. Okay, so let's assume the boundary layer separation, okay, where it is happening. To calculate the boundary layer separation, just assume our u by u infinity, the velocity, the boundary layer velocity to free stream velocity, the ratio, they are somehow the polynomial function of the stretching parameter y by delta, where delta is my boundary layer thickness, right? So just as a polynomial function, I can take up to third order polynomial function. Here, to compute the boundary layer edge or the separation edge, I have to provide the accurate boundary condition. What are the boundary conditions? By virtue of the no slip condition, at y is equal to 0, u is equal to 0, right? So again, at y is equal to delta u is equal to u infinity. This is what? This is my free stream. When at the edge of the boundary layer u becomes the u infinity. Second, at y is equal to delta, del u by del y equals to 0, means what will happen? At y is equal to delta, the shear vanishes. Then the separation has a new thing. Okay, at the separation point, at y is equal to 0, del u by del y becomes 0. Okay, so at y is equal to 0 over here, because of the separation, the del u by del y is no shear, right? This is the hallmark of the separation. If the flow is separating, there is not any monotonic growth of the boundary layer, then at the y is equal to 0, at the solid boundary, the del u by del y will become 0. There will be a chance that without any sharp change in the velocity, the flow may be rise. And this is the hallmark of a boundary layer separation. Okay, shear resistance retard the fluid in the boundary layer because of the no slip condition. Solid, it's acts as a flow damper. This retards the fluid in the boundary layer, right? The reverse pressure gradient, what will happen? They reverse the flow. The fluid, by virtue of its inertia or acceleration, okay, it tries to move forward, right? It gets that acceleration from our free stream fluid. The shear resistance, the u by del y, they try to retard. They try to pull back the fluid. If there is a reverse or adverse pressure gradient, what they will do? They will also try to pull the fluid. If the flow has a sufficient inertia, it's not always like that. There is a misconfusion that should not be confused, that if del p by del x greater than 0, always there is a reverse flow. It is not the condition, because why? The flow is coming, it has some finite amount of inertia or the acceleration, right? So that force is damped away by our solid boundary that is providing resistance. If you is moving further, okay, along the resistance, your another force is coming to the fluid, that is the pressure gradient, which is acting on the reverse direction, right? If you move further along the core body, this reverse pressure gradient, they also try to pull that fluid in the opposite direction, right? Now there is a one force acceleration, it is pulling the fluid further forward direction. The pressure gradient as well as the viscous drag, they are pulling the fluid in the opposite direction. As long as the inertia is sufficient enough to cope up the reverse pull by pressure gradient as well as viscous drag, the flow, there won't be any separation, the flow will move in the boundary layer direction, free stream direction. When the point, the boundary layer drag and the pressure gradient, they are sufficient enough to absorb all the inertia forced by the fluid, then little bit higher in the pressure gradient term, they will result the reverse circulation of the fluid, right? So reverse pressure gradient, that's why results the reverse flow. And this pressure gradient is supposed to have high strength, right? Existence of pressure gradient is a necessary condition. Okay. Once the pressure gradient, reverse pressure gradient is there, it has to be present in the sufficient strength to result in the boundary layer reverse flow of the boundary layer. It's not like that. Only adverse pressure gradient can reverse the flow. Already I have explained. Okay. To find out results from force from the immersed body, let's know what are the force acting on our body when it is immersed condition. Suppose this is my aeroplane kind of thing. Okay, this is my moving. This is my free stream. Okay, this is my free stream of fluid. They are moving. Okay, this is my free stream of fluid. There is a body over the free stream of fluid. There are two kind of forces acting on the body. One, okay, along the free stream direction, the net force may be acting here. Every surface, there is a different direction of the action of the force, right? So the net force along the surface, if we can resolve it into the two component, there is a component of the force that is working along the free stream direction. Okay, that force is known as drag force. F_3. There is a force that acting perpendicular to the free stream direction. If I resolve the net force acting on the body into two components, every point I pay equal, and whatever the force working, I resolve it into two components. So then all the summation I have taken for the all point to calculate the force. There is a force acting on the body, okay, perpendicular to the free stream, that is the lift force, right? So then with a proper mechanism, we can non-dimensionalize it. Suppose this is the area where it is working. So if this is the area, in this area, if the free stream force is working in the normal direction, what is the effect, right? With that concept, we can normalize the free stream velocity over here. Sorry, non-dimensionalized flow force over here. Okay, the net force acting on a body is resolved into two orthogonal components. One is along the free stream, other is perpendicular to the free stream. Forces along the free stream direction is known as drag force. Forces perpendicular to the free stream direction is known as lift force. So the drag force, when I divide it with the kinetic energy of the free stream into reference area, what is the reference area? We'll find out. Already discussed the area normal. We have projected the normal to the free stream. That is the reference area. If you can normalize this way, we can find a non-dimensionalized coefficient that is called coefficient of drag. Similarly, the lift force, right? If you can do the thing non-dimensionalized with the same reference area and kinetic energy possessed by the free stream, it gives a non-dimensionalized coefficient that is the coefficient of lift. Basically, in engineering design, the objective is to minimize the drag and increase the lift, because the drag force, they somehow try to reduce the speed of the fluid, as well as the lift flows, maximize the lift flows. Their lift always acts towards the top. So suppose this is an aerofoil wing or the aeroplane, the objective is to reduce the drag and increase the lift, so that it will be in the floating condition, it will be elevated to higher and higher position as the lift flows goes on increasing. Okay, so who are responsible for providing the drag force? The drag force, as we have already studied, the drag force was provided by two things. First, it's the shear drag provided because of the viscosity, because of the skin friction, the shear drag is coming, right? Second is the pressure drag or form drag. We have already seen, because of the pressure, if it is acting in the adverse direction, it is reverse, making the flow reverse, right? So this is also known as form drag, because this pressure gradient is somehow induced by the form or the shape of the body. If the shape of the body is flat plate, there is no pressure drag. If the shape of the body is curvature, by default it has some pressure gradient and it provides the drag. Okay, it's strong functional geometry of the body. That's why it is known as also the form drag, right? So for the turbulent flow, skin friction drag is more for the turbulent flow, right? Because for the turbulent flow, del u by del y, the shear component is much higher than the laminar flow. For the turbulent flow, skin friction component is more for the turbulent flow, right? So let's come. So, but there is another interesting thing. For the turbulent flow, the shear drag is more. Again, for the turbulent flow, the inertia force, the flow come in a high velocity, right? The drag, what it will do? It will try to the top. In case of the turbulence, the drag is more, shear drag is more. It tries to quickly reduce the inertia, right? And again, because of the eddy mixing, the flow for the turbulent has high inertia compared to the laminar flow. That's why there is a contradicting thing. In case of the turbulent flow, the shear drag is maximum as well as the inertia force is maximum. Okay. Streamlined body has less tendency of the separation, right? What is the streamlined body? If the body is very smooth, okay, that is called streamlined body. If the body is very smooth, it's not a very curved shape kind of thing, the pressure gradient, induced pressure gradient will be less, right? If induced pressure gradient will be less, it has the less tendency for separation, right? But if it is a blunt body or the blob body, what is the blunt body or the blob body? Any sharp curvature body, okay, where the immediate reduction in pressure gradient is formed because of the change of the shape is has the shape, and this change in shape induced and pressure gradient and leads to the tendency of the separation, right? Close separation across a blunt body delays due to turbulent boundary layer. Already we have discussed the turbulence has a high inertia, right? So even if the adverse pressure gradient and the drag force, they want to pull it because of the high pressure gradient, the turbulence want to cover a maximum distance because it loses its inertia and travel to then the fluid start traveling in the reverse direction. Okay, the separation point. So if the initially the turbulent flow, the flow is turbulent, then the separation points shifts in the downward. As a concept, weight is formed smaller in turbulent boundary layer compared to the laminar, right? So any engineering design, what are the objective? The basic objective is to design a body as possible as close. This is the streamlined body, so that it has less drag. If there more drag resistance, whether it is a car, it's a aero vehicle, it's a helicopter, anything, if the drag force is more, you have to provide more effort to propel that vehicle, right? So the application of this thing is a von Karman vortex strict. What happens when the free stream velocity of the fluid hits the sphere or the cylinder over here in the adverse pressure gradient region? There is a asymmetry occurs in the distribution of the pressure. Okay, as a whole, the waves are formed, and after a certain point, the waves started shedding from the cylinder and they start moving in this straight kind of fashion. Okay, so this is known as von Karman vortex strict. This is a very, very interesting and well studied situation over past 100 years. At least I can say 70-80 years of the CFD theory. This von Karman strict and the flow across the cylinder and sphere is well studied. Okay, basically it has more application towards the aerofoil and many of the aerodynamics and river pillar, making the pillar or column in the river, this kind of application, right? So this is the concept, how the flow is separated and how the pressure gradient has a role from the both region of the flow, right? So after this, there is another concept called thermal boundary layer. In this class, we'll give a just simple introduction to the thermal boundary layer, but in the next class, we'll go for the solution of the thermal boundary layer. So just come to the first idea about what is thermal boundary layer. Till now, the boundary layer we have considered, we neglected any temperature. We assume it's an isothermal condition, the solid and the fluid, free stream fluid, they both are in same temperature. There is not any exchange of the heat, right? Only there is exchange of the momentum. But this is not the same case. Just imagine the solid is heated at to some higher temperature and the fluid is allowed, the free stream is allowed to pass about the solid, over the solid. At that case, what will happen? The fluid which is directly connected with the solid surface, it will exchange maximum heat, right? Because it's a lower temperature, the solid is a higher temperature, it will exchange the heat. Again, further, it will exchange the fluid which gained the heat from the solid surface, it will exchange that heat with the next adjacent fluid layer. Like that, what will happen? The temperature of the fluid, which is adjacent to the solid boundary, this will reach at the higher temperature, and gradually, as we move on away from the solid boundary, the temperature of the fluid goes on decreasing, right, up to a point, okay, where the free stream temperature is maintained. For measurement purpose, we find out here the temperature in case of the boundary layer, the velocity was increasing from 0 to the free stream velocity. That's why the point where the velocity of the boundary layer equal to 99 point of the velocity of the free stream, that point we are known as flow boundary layer. In this case, the temperature is higher, right? So gradually the temperature goes on decreasing, and this is approaching the free stream temperature, which is low, right? So in this case, we assume when the temperature of the flow, that is around 1.01, that is 101%, okay, of the temperature of the flat plate, then that region will compute as a thermal boundary layer, right? After reducing, okay, this is a very high person, okay, after reducing it, if it is 1.01%, 1.01 of T infinity, okay, here this is the T infinity is equal to what? T infinity is equal to free stream velocity, sorry, free stream temperature. If that free stream temperature equal to 1.01%, at flow temperature at a position, If it is 1.01% of the T infinity or the free stream temperature, that position we know as thermal boundary layer edge. Okay. So if we connect the edges of the thermal boundary layer, then we will find a trajectory. That trajectory is nothing but that will give you the edge of the or the thermal boundary layer, right? So this is interesting thing. Okay. So what happens? Just like a flow boundary layer, earlier we have seen the flow boundary layer is function of what? Kinematic viscosity nu, right? We have already derived how it is changing with the nu, both similarity solution, momentum integral things. If there is no viscosity, there is no boundary layer, right? Similarly, thermal boundary layer, delta T, it's a function of what? It's a function of alpha, where alpha is what? Alpha is equal to my K by rho Cp. K is equal to conductivity, rho Cp is heat capacity. This conductivity, what it decides? How much of heat conduct from one place to other place, that was defined by the conductivity. Rho Cp is called heat capacity. This defines the amount of heat storage at a particular place, right? So this alpha, this thermal diffusivity, that defines the ratio of conductivity to storage. Means basically it is telling if heat is coming to the position, how much it is going to be conduct to the next position and how much energy is going to be stored in that same position. So okay, so now again for the delta flow boundary layer is a function of f1 of nu. The thermal boundary layer, it is another function of alpha. If you divide those things, the thickness of the flow boundary layer to thermal boundary layer, there will be some function of two variable independent variable nu by alpha. This two independent ratio of two independent variable nu by alpha is known as Prandtl number. Okay, what this Prandtl number is basically explaining, this Prandtl number is nu by alpha is explaining momentum diffusivity to the thermal diffusivity. What exactly it is telling? If I give two disturbance in a fluid, right? If I give the fluid some velocity disturbance, some heat, okay, now the disturbance will propagate along the fluid. If my momentum diffusivity is much more higher than the thermal diffusivity, right? So what will happen? The momentum disturbance will propagate much at fast speed, okay? So that means the velocity disturbance, they will propagate faster than with very fast velocity compared to the disturbance will come later. So in that case, the Prandtl number will be more than 1, right? For a region class of fluid, where if you give little bit heat, it will travel much faster rate than the any disturbance in the momentum. In that case, the Prandtl number should be less than 1. For a fluid close to air kind of fluid, where momentum and thermal disturbance, they propagate almost in the same speed, they are known as Prandtl number equal to 1 fluid. By the way, for air, Prandtl number equal to 0.7, not 1. So with this, up to this, today we have discussed already the boundary layer separation as well as the concept of the thermal boundary layer. Next class onward, we will go for the solution of the thermal boundary layer. Today we can finish the lecture over here with the introduction to the thermal boundary layer. So if you have any question, you can ask. Thank you. Yeah, this slide. Okay. Again, just like similarity transformation, right? Earlier, this is my PD. This PD is a function of what? This PD is a function of x, y, right? Here, the pressure gradient we have already expressed in terms of the u. U is a variable that we have find out that u is a function of what? U is another function of x over here. We can represent u is a function of x over here. U is equal to c x to the power n, right? So now instead of x and y, I have a similarity transform variable eta. Okay, Eta I represent by taking both x and y into consideration, and with a scaling analysis, square root of u by nu. Okay, if you dimensionally check out, they represent the same dimension as eta, right? The distance, non-dimensional distance kind of thing. So by this kind of similarity transformation, we can transfer this boundary layer, sorry, Navier-Stokes equation to a Falker-Scan equation. Here u and u is a function of what? U and v are the function of x and y. So now instead of the u, we convert it into f double dash, that we did already in the similarity transformation. Yeah, just we did in our similarity transformation. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Just as a similarity transformation, if I transform it, okay, transform the set of equation, okay, so they become the partial differential equation, become the ordinary differential equation, because here partial differential equation, because there are two variables x and y. Here it is ordinary differential equation, there is one independent variable, that is eta, because all other independent variables we can club it into one functional relationship and put it as a single independent variable. Now it is clear? Yes. Well, but the change in the functional notation of the change in the, here it is the functional notation we have used, change in the function for the capturing eta. That time eta is equal to how much? Y by the delta. Delta is nothing but, if you go, boundary layer is equal to, already we derived u by u infinity by nu into x root over, right? Some constant multiplication is also there. Forget about that constant multiplication. This is nothing but u infinity nu by x root over. But here the difference is that this u infinity, instead of this free stream velocity, in case of the wedge, there is not a predefined free stream velocity. That free stream velocity over the wedge, the inclined plane of the wedge, that depends upon the angle m, right? That's why here, instead of the u infinity, we have a capital U kind of thing. Yes. No, the boundary layer how separation started, isn't it? Boundary layer separation started at the solid boundary, right? So this graph are plotted at a location, okay, where the solid boundary, at the solid boundary we have a reverse flow. From here we have a singularity, zero velocity at the solid boundary, okay. So you can, if you plot over there at this this point, okay, instead of this kind of, we can find just a straight kind of profile, then the boundary layer started. If I exactly, I can come into here. So suppose this is my body over here. This is my maximum point, okay, where the body state is changing, right? If that point I am plotting the velocity versus, okay, u versus y, if I am plotting, okay, what will happen, what we are expecting at that point? So this point, let it cross, make it red, okay. At this point you can see, if it is without any boundary layer separation, okay, why it is not going color plus, okay, without any boundary layer separation, the boundary layer will looks like this, they increase somewhere then become constant, right? Because of the separation, what will happen? Okay, and let me plot some blue color. Okay, at the sharp this location, if I am plotting over here, this will be a zero velocity for somewhere, then they will started increasing, right? Just we have seen over here. Okay, if you gradually goes on changing, okay, then this is the reverse phenomena. If you gradually goes on increasing, the velocity will show the reverse phenomena. With respect to y, they will change the direction, then they further started increasing, right? So that will be the phenomenon. Yeah, this is this graph we have plotted at this location. Okay, this location where there is a sharp change and increasing. If we move little bit this location and plot the same graph, I am somewhere plotting this location. This is u, this is y. You will find first as you increase in y, the u is my negative direction. They will again come to 0 and they will started growing like this. Okay. If you are moving somewhere here, you will find, okay, this is u, this is y. You will find my u is little bit more negative. This meet somewhere at this point, they start growing. So at a point, if you connect all locus of all such points, okay, if you have connected it locus, this will give you nothing but this separation edge. Okay, fine. So let's come for this complicated thing. So let's understand this position. What is happening over here? Even if the separation is happening, this is my u, this is my y. Okay, this increase over here, they come over here. So at this point, okay, now the boundary layer going, right? This is separation. Okay, this is a separation. This is the boundary layer, right? This is my separation edge. At any point at over here, calculate du by del x. What will give del by del x? Sorry, du by dx will get it. Sorry, du by dy at is 0, right? They are changing sharp turn, right? The left hand derivative should be right hand derivative. Otherwise, how will continue, right? Clear, right? At this point equal to 0. So once this is 0, to find out the functional value, this should be what? We have to take the double derivative. Okay. If you take the double derivative at this point, that part I did over here. Okay. This point, the functional value equal to 0. What is the double derivative? The double derivative at this point. Sorry. Mistake. Apology. That point, what will happen? The double derivative term going to 0 over here. You say check it over here. They are coming from the positive side because the pressure is positive. The double derivative term is positive. They are coming from the positive side. They become 0. They becomes changing its sign over here, right? So while del u by del t term, what will happen over here? The del u by del t, what is the del u by del t? This has some finite value at the, even if it is very small, at the y is equal to 0 location. Okay. At y is equal to 0 location, even if the velocity is very, very small, del u by del y equal to has some finite value, right? Let me go, new slide. Okay. So this is at y is equal to 0 location, even if the boundary layer started del u by del y is equal to 0 location. How the boundary layer looks like already plotted we have over here. They'll start somewhere here, or then they'll move like this, right? So even if they started somewhere like this, then they move like this, there is some finite value of the shear or not, del u by del y or not. So this will be some here, right? As you go on increasing, after that it will increase, right? Because from here, if you go, the slope is maximum, right? Then at a point, the slope becomes approaches to 0 because there will be no change in del u by del y. So this term will gradually increase over here. So up to some point, then this becomes come to 0. Okay. This position is what? Inflation position. Del u by del y, 0 shear region. So this 0 shear region, if you go to the velocity profile, okay, this 0 shear region in the velocity profile is this much, right? Where the reverse circle, just here. Now, if you look across the separation edge, the shear on the molecule, what physically it is telling, right? Physically it is telling 0 shear means what? The molecule which is sitting on the edge of the separation point, right? The amount of forward force given by the boundary layer on the top in the free stream direction, the same amount of inward pull is given by the boundary layer in the bottom. So as a whole, what will happen? The net force remains same, the molecule will stick over here. That's why it's a 0 shear kind of thing, right? The same force from the top, same force from the bottom. Okay, but again, once this term is positive, in order to certify the no slip condition, the pressure gradient and the double derivative needs to be positive, and this double derivative passes from the positive to the negative, and again they go towards the positive. And how much, whether they will come from here to direct here, this double derivative they can directly from here to here, here to here. So not necessarily that it has to pass through this point, but if it has to pass through this point, then there is a separation. The separation that depends upon the strength of the pressure gradient. If pressure gradient strength is very, very high, so they directly don't come from here to here. They pass from here towards the negative direction, and they again come to the point, because along with the shear force, okay, pressure gradient also try to pull the fluid back, while the inertia or the free stream try to make it forward. So that's why there is a reverse flow. Hmm. Yes, yes. Why? You can see the velocity is no, no, velocity is in negative direction, but change in velocity. uh, vel- that's what the dy represent what? Change in velocity. If it is a back flow, I can understand your thing. Okay, let's come to this thing. Okay, uh, you are telling me like this. This is my solid. Okay, so this is my normal boundary layer. Okay, this is the boundary layer. If I extend it, suppose there is a curved surface. Okay, if I do like that, you are telling this region there is a then increase in velocity. That's why you have this kind of profile, right? Velocity may be negative. What is the change in velocity? Positive, right? Uh, yes, 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 yes. Point of inflation. Point of inflation. If you connect all the point of inflation, you will get the separation point. That is the separation edge you will get. This separation edge will act like a artificial solid boundary, above which you can find monotonic growth of this boundary layer kind of thing. But because of this separation, the boundary layer cannot monotonically growth in the core boundary. Here it will be reverse circulation. Once there is a turbulent velocity, is a high inertia, this the separation point they shifted from here to somewhere here. So this is my two cases. The same. Oh, not okay. There is a same two bodies are there. Okay. So in one case the flow is laminar. Okay, one case is a flow is turbulent. The laminar case, the separation if started over here, the turbulent case this will be shifted somewhere to here. Okay, because of the poor pulling, the shear, the pressure gradient, till there is a sufficient amount of pressure gradient, there is a sufficient amount of shear, they are amount that completely compensating or the absorbing the inertia forces by the free stream, there is not any separation. So the as pressure gradient is a function of the body, you move more and more towards the drilling side of the curvature, there will be more pressure gradient will be formed, and once the pressure gradient become high, so then the point of separation become sorry, in case of the laminar, sorry, turbulent flow, okay, the turbulent flow is a high inertia force, right? The velocity become very high acceleration, right? So even if the pressure gradient turn acts with the viscous term, what happen? The point of inflation or the separation point they shift towards the downstream side. In case of the laminar, they just occur over here. Which one? Mhm. No, imagine. No, just imagine one thing. Remember, as already told, once del p by del x it is greater than zero, the del square u by del y square, dou square u by del y square, they need to be positive, right? So gradually in the pure, free sphere region, the gradient is going to vanish. They are coming to zero, right? Again, it's the role whether how they are approaching zero. It may be positive if there is a pressure gradient, don't have any substantial strength, then they may be directly shift from here to here. There may not be any backflow. There may be flow slow down, but it is not so much of strength that it will make the flow in the reverse direction. The flow will gradually slow down, comes to the rest. That's fine. So gradually, this may be follow from here to here. The positive dou square u by dou y square, they may be go from here to here. But again, if the pressure, because of the curvature, sharp curvature, the pressure gradient become huge. So along with the viscous, the pressure gradient also will try to pull the fluid. At that case, instead of directly coming from here to zero, the fluid starts moving in the opposite direction. Then again, it will approach the shear velocity. Yeah, yes, yes. It has to be come to the zero. Sorry, it has to be come to the y is equal, sorry, zero. But your W by W square it has to come as the zero in the free stream region above the boundary layer edge, right? So this point, the difference between this zero and this zero, the dou u by dou y equals to zero two times. This zero and this zero is the top zero represents somewhere in the boundary layer edge. This is somewhere separation edge within the boundary layer. Yeah, yeah, sure.